what Eastern Orthodox quite frequently do is you try to lump together papal supremacy and papal infallibility, but they're not the same. You guys try to create this like post hoc rationalization that somehow they have to be the same in order for the character of infallibility to be able to be ever declared or maintained to begin with. But it's not in virtue of papal supremacy that we have papal infallibility. Does that make sense?
I believe
Or
in
excuse me,
purple supremacy.
papal supremacy exists literally at the beginning of the church.
No, it doesn't.
It's implied in papal
Canon
primacy,
6 refutes the
which is
Canon 6 refutes papal supremacy.
No, it does not.
Yes,
It
because it
establishes
supports the
it.
view of
There's
papal
no
primacy,
other
which
way.
is that
There's
it's
no
first
other
among
way
equals. It
to
literally supports that.
interpret, right? The application of the privileges
Yes,
of
there
Rome.
is. I just gave the Orthodox interpretation.
There is no other
using
way.
The rudder,
right,
the
right.
pedalian,
This is
the
right.
Holy
This is the
pedalian.
Orthodox quote unquote interpretation
You know, the Holy
that you try to
pedalian.
maintain.
That's a pretty sick name, right?
But here's the thing:
Yeah,
what you don't understand that it is not said in some poetic or
the Holy pedalian.
or doctrinal
rudder.
language. It's in a juridical language. The metropolitan sees, as a matter of fact, were never established prior to Nicaea I, and they are established at Canon 6 of Nicaea I in virtue of the privileges of Rome.
Yeah, and that's abrogated at the Council of Ephesus, dude.
Which is understood to be universally applicable to the whole church, modeled after Rome. Simple as that.
Yet you believe the Pope's necessary
papal
for an
supremacy
ecumenical council, which
is operative. Is operative literally at the first ecumenical council.
Yeah, Canon 6 of Nicaea actually refutes your view.
Like,
right?
this is amazing how you're just gonna try to gaslight now and just say, oh well, Eric Ibarra actually, he actually disagrees. No,
believes that Pope Honorius was a material
that's literally
heretic.
what he's arguing with Ubi Petrus and Jay Dyer in both debates.
He says
it may not have been de facto.
It
may not have been de facto the case that the Pope was literally present at every single council, or that he ratified every council, or that he was there for every dispute.
Honorius
but by de jure, he had that right.
Can I make Honorius my
No, he's condemned.
Can I make him my saint, my patron saint?
No, he's condemned. He's a fucking heretic.
But papal infallibility.
Exactly, it contradicts it. And Abysmal here
it does not,
is just doubling
because
down
papal
on it.
infallibility at Vatican I is only in a very limited context. These arguments were made, right, between the Ultramontanists and the Gallicans leading up to Vatican I. They all hashed this out as part of the Roman Catholic Church. They re-brought up the case of Honorius. And what we ended up with at Vatican I was a very limited sense of papal infallibility.
Abysmal, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
Why did the Vatican in Vatican II decide to make the monks and the nuns no longer valuable to the church and no longer have a special rank or order in the church?
And that's the thing. Pope Francis is literally persecuting them at this point. But that's what the Jesuits have always done. You look at the Jesuits in history when it was
By the way, he doesn't believe it's binding, Aristotle.
When it was the Dominicans versus Jesuits, guess what the Jesuits did? When it was the Jansenists versus Jesuits, guess what they did? When it was the Gallicans versus the Jesuits, look what they did.
Does the first C believe it's dogmatic? Does the first C believe that V2 is dogmatic?
Thank you, Grudgeon. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're backsliding.
Can you answer the question?
Boethius. I don't know, man.
Because
disingenuous.
Aristotle's argument relies upon V2 being dogmatic, right? So, does the first C, right, hold V2 as dogmatic currently?
I think you're out of control now, Apophatic.
Okay,
we've had these conversations,
they do, right?
And
Pope Francis holds it as dogmatic and binding, right? So the
Vicar
continue
to act dumb, then you're just going to become
binding.
someone who's dumb to me. So
okay.
So here's what Pope Paul VI
are you
actually
judging
says,
the first C right now? Are you judging the first C?
Here's what they says. The council has.
I think you're judging the first C.
Well, you're turning into a diarite. The council has invested its teachings with the authority of the supreme ordinary magisterium, which ordinary magisterium is so obviously authentic that it must be accepted with docility and sincerity by all the faithful. It doesn't require binding.
V2 is ordinary magisterium. It's ordinary.
To the mind of the council as expressed
you got to roll a d6 and take that amount of damage.
All right, let me just get out my pump shotgun. Give me 1 second. I'm reloading. We pop a mini right quick. I'm doing a 90 right now. All right, good
Enemy
little
spotted.
cone, little floor. All right, so what you don't understand, Abismo, is that V2 is ordinary magisterium, right? It's actually the position of the vicar of Christ of the first see, which you're not allowed to judge and that you're bound to. So any decision that the first see makes while he's on earth, it's not personal, but it's like, the ordinary magisterium, whatever he speaks on, and the interpretation that he gives on councils. So if you read, like, the Pope's interpretation of Vatican II, you have to actually agree with it because it's papal clarifications, which you're, like, binded to. Anyways.
Yeah, but we have two senses of binding. One is by intellect, one is by will. It's not binding in the same infallible way. Infallible binding Infallible binding requires both assent of will and intellect. Vatican II, although in the places where it reaffirms prior infallible teachings in virtue of those prior infallible teachings, it requires assent of both intellect and will. But that's not in virtue of the Council of Vatican II itself, but rather to the infallible declarations or definitions prior
Vatican
to
II
Vatican
does
II.
require assent of the
But
intellect
as
and the
part of the
will. It
ordinary
does.
magisterium, right, because the purview of Vatican II is not towards those particular infallible affirmations,
Can I get
nor
another
is it to
Catholic in here to
define
understand
infallible
this?
doctrine. The purview extends to pastoral prerogatives. So
I mean, you know how
therefore,
many Catholics disagree with you, right? Even the Vicar of Christ disagrees with
it
you.
only holds, right, the character of the ordinary magisterium, which is only binding on your will. That's
I'm
it.
about to get on VR. Okay, so are you judging the first C by denying it?
That's a false dichotomy.
No, it's not.
It's a false
The
dichotomy
the
because you
canons you're
assume that
bound to, so you
binding,
can't judge the
right?
first C. If you read the
Binding has a
Samaritan
distinction.
forgeries, which your
Binding has a
church found
distinction.
YouTube, by the way, just letting you know, it states that any decision the Pope makes on Earth, you can't disagree with, and you're bound to it with your conscience.
Like the
Show me the
Sumakian
canon. Show
forgery.
me the canon.
Like the Sammachian forgeries, yeah, Pope
Hey,
Symmachus. If you read his letters that were forged, which
what
you're
about
actually
side
bound to
chat?
his forged letters, it states that the first see cannot be judged by anyone. Even if the Pope were Satan incarnate, we ought not to raise up our heads against him, but calmly lay down to
Yeah,
rest on his bosom.
yeah. Look at side
And
chat.
Catherine of
Should we
Siena.
listen? Should we listen to Abismo or someone who the magisterium has glorified as a saint?
Hmm.
Unity.
Oh, wait.
Why
Should we
can
And
no
listen
one
to
define what a
Pope Saint
magisterium is?
JP2? Pope Saint JP2, right? Who is like guaranteed by the magisterium as glorified, or just what Abismo says online? Like, you see, Abismo, I'm trying to understand the Catholic position, but it's really hard when I'm hearing like 50 different things from like 3 different people.
I understand. That's the diorite position. You're turning into a diorite now.
I'm not a diorite.
Huh?
No, I
Shots
believe that
Tried
fired.
to
you're a
find this
diorite.
thing.
Another
He
Like,
blocked
first
me
of
on
all, you
Twitter.
can't distinguish between papal supremacy and papal infallibility.
JIR blocked me
You
on Twitter. You think
understand
I'm
you
a
have to
diorite?
maintain that they're the same thing in order to make your accusations,
Okay,
right?
okay. Do you
Against
understand? I am
both
trying to be honest
infallibility
and
or
understand
papal
your position,
supremacy,
but I
right?
can't
So
understand
so
your
then do you
position, and there's
agree?
like
Do you
40 different
agree?
interpretations from
Then
your
here's
same
the
thing.
thing. Okay, so first of all, do you accept the distinction between papal supremacy and papal infallibility?
Yes, there is a distinction between the
Okay,
two.
correct. So then you also agree, like you mentioned before, that papal primacy means papal supremacy. Canon number
No,
6.
papal primacy does not mean papal
So
supremacy,
then
but
what is how do you understand papal supremacy?
papal supremacy is universal ordinary jurisdiction throughout all times. Papal primacy is universal jurisdiction only in times of distress within the church. Basically, like a universal
Yeah,
primate over the
that is
entire
not the Roman
synod, a
Catholic
colleague of
position. So
bishops.
therefore you don't maintain canon 6. Simple as that.
Yeah, we do.
Right.
Yeah, we do.
So
For
should
example,
we
Pope
as lay
Celestine,
faithful,
Saint
should
Cyril,
we as
Alexandria
lay
appealed to
faithful
him,
listen
condemned
to Eastern
Nestorius.
Orthodox who have an unorthodox and heterodox interpretation of the First Ecumenical Council? No, we should not.
Okay, I get that you're arguing for your position. I'm trying to be honest,
No,
be
no, 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 no.
intellectually honest.
It's difficult
But
for you to maintain, right? What you have is an alien understanding of
it's
papal
difficult
primacy
for me to
and papal
understand your
supremacy.
position if there's like 20
You
different
can't
people saying
understand
20 different
papal
things.
primacy without papal supremacy. It's as simple as that.
Princess is saying one thing, you're saying another thing.
Princess
I'm
is
hearing Delphic
Princess
say
is a
another thing.
20-year-old
I'm
barely
hearing I'm hearing
collegiate graduate.
I'm hearing Michael Laufton say one thing. I'm hearing, bro. I'm just just hearing Eric Ybarra say another thing. I'm here, bro. There's just so many different interpretations. I just want to understand the true Catholic position, but I can't do that, and the
Well,
Pope doesn't
you're
even
not going to be able to do
guarantee me
that by
that.
appealing to your own critical faculties.
Well, it's not
I mean,
according to
excuse
my
me,
own
through the
critical
critical faculties of
faculties.
other people. You have to depend on your own.
No. I'm saying that
Right?
nobody can understand your position if your position is ridden with tons of contradictory positions within your own religion.
I mean, that I can agree with when it comes to some magisterial
Okay, so do
statements,
you
but
understand how hard
right,
it is to
but
understand your
not
doctrine where I'm
all,
coming from?
not all of the conciliar statements are infallible. Just like not all of canon law is universally infallible. It's not. And neither is Vatican II because it was not an infallible council. It's only binding in an ordinary way, which is by docility and sincerity and not the intellect.
You do
So
have
why
to
did
ascend the intellect and the will
It's
because
as simple as that. I don't
you
understand
do
why
have to
it's so
ascend
confusing.
the intellect and the
so
will because of
can I
specific
ask a
doctrines on
question about
implicit
that?
versus explicit worship. Yeah, go ahead, Aristotle.
Why is it that the abbesses and the abbas, the monks and the nuns, and the heads of those institutions
So you're just gish
left
galloping.
Catholicism?
You're just gish
I'm
galloping.
not gish galloping. I
You're non
have
sequitur.
only brought up one point.
It's
Gish
non
galloping
sequitur.
is
It's
bringing
gish
up
galloping.
multiple points. No, I've only brought up one point.
Well, it
Only
had
one.
nothing to do with the prior point, so you're just detracting from the
That would be a
conversation.
red herring.
Yo, stop
That would be
running
a red
cover
herring
for your
if it
boy.
was
Stop
true.
running cover for your boy.
I'm not talking about what he's talking about. I'm asking about Vatican II. And you're saying that it's binding only in a certain sense.
Mhm.
And I was asking a clarifying question about the nature of the binding.
What
If it's
does
only
the
binding in a
situation?
certain.
What
Hold
does the
on. Why are you
situation
interrupting?
of one
Why are you
order or
interrupting me?
64,000 priests leaving have to do with the question of binding?
Aristotle, I'm just going to
Like
tell
It
you,
absolutely
I don't
does.
understand the
You
connection.
he
answered it
interrupts a
for me.
lot, and he's a room owner, so it's better not
Where's
to
the rule of
engage if you don't want to be
inference?
interrupted.
Well, you answered it for me. 64,000 monks and nuns
No,
left during
64,000
Vatican II.
priests.
Well, I'm not talking about the priests. I'm talking about the monks and nuns specifically
Okay.
because I don't know
Well,
anything concerning the priests.
okay. So then, whatever. Yeah. What's your point?
No, the question is upon the binding, why did they leave? Why did they give up a life of asceticism, which the Desert Fathers clearly state that when you put your hand to the plow and then turn back, everything that you've gained is lost? Why did all of them leave a life of asceticism and chastity? And I'm not sure how many had left, but why was it such a large amount that it's noticeable across the whole world? And why didn't the abbas and abbesses know any better if it wasn't binding? Seems like they view it as binding.
Wait. What? How does this connect to binding?
In whatever sense you
Because their
mean by
intellect and will
binding,
was bound to them believing that they were not as valuable as they once were.
yeah,
Where does that say that in the Vatican II documents? I don't understand what you're
In
referring
the
to.
Vatican II documents, right, it basically puts monks and nuns at the level of lay people. Basically, it devalues them and degrades them.
it
And
removes the special position in the church.
Well,
yes,
they never
and
had a special position in the church.
that requires the
Holy shit.
ascension of the
They
intellect
never
and the
had a
will.
special position. Okay, so orders.
Holy shit.
This is
Is
a
that your
whole nother.
official
Yeah,
position?
no. It's not official. What? Okay, then bring out the official whatevers.
Is
Your
that your
What you
official
actual
don't
position?
understand
Is
about.
that your
Okay, so
position? Is
so
that they
hold on,
never have a special role?
hold on.
Monks and
So
nuns never
orders,
have a
yeah,
special role.
there's no special character that they have. There's no
Okay, right. Yeah.
ontological
Okay.
difference between
Yeah.
a
No.
non-ordained member of the church and an ordained member of the church. That's
Yeah.
it.
That okay. That yeah. No Roman Catholicism for me. No. None of that for me.
There's no
Yeah,
ontological
that's
difference.
there is.
I
There
mean, do you
clearly
realize
is.
that the orders as they weigh in as they exist within the church, there's like a whole like process, administrative process that you have to go with to get your
Do you
order
think
approved
the
and all this.
ordained
But
person that has
the church
holy
retains the
orders
jurisdictional
is
right
more authoritative than a lay
to
person who has no holy
abrogate
orders?
any of the orders at any
Do they
given
have
time. You
more
know this, right?
authority if they have holy orders?
No, the
Oh,
church
so the priests don't
retains
have
the
more
right
authority
to
than lay
abrogate
people
any
then. They can't
order
bind
that they
them to their
want
they
at
can't
any
bind their
time. If
Are you
they
saying
feel
they
like
can't
their
bind their
particular
conscience?
charism it finds no relevance to it anymore.
Hey Bubba,
That's
how are you
always
doing?
been the
Can you make this
case.
room a little bit more interesting?
This has always been the case.
No,
No,
I
you guys are
can't.
just gish galloping at this point.
Oh. Yeah, he let me just get the tactic
No,
of
no,
debate
no, no,
out.
no, 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 no.
Post
We're
hoc
not going to move off this point.
rationalization,
We're not going to move
ad
off this point real quick.
hominem.
So Aristotle, where are you
What's the
getting
other
this
one?
idea that monks and nuns, right, and
Gish
those of the
Galloping,
religious
that's his favorite
order
one.
have like a actual distinct character?
Like, are you serious? You want
Yeah,
me to bring you up all
yeah,
the
yeah.
documents
Please,
from
can
church
you
fathers that
establish?
say,
Correct. How are they of a
yeah,
different, you know, because nowhere in the Vatican II is it saying what you're saying. And secondly, if it were the case, if hypothetically it were the case that was the case, then how do you establish that monks and the non-ordained orders of the church have some like character that is separate or equal or on the same level as a priest? Where is this?
no one's saying they're separate or equal or on the same level as the
Then what are
priest.
you
They're a
saying?
different.
They're a different what?
Yeah, I would be saying separate. I would say that they have a special role in the church, which is not a priestly role. You have the lay people role, you have the monastic role, and you have the ordained role. And sometimes you can be an ordained monastic. That's very often the case. But each one of them have their own special position in the church, even their own special way to salvation.
That's
Like
part of,
even their
right. That may
salvific
be the
path
part of
has
the custom
changed.
of the church. But do you believe that that's this special role, right, for a monastic? Is it an ontological change?
It's a change in their path of salvation. So yeah, necessarily.
It is. So you are claiming that is an ontological change.
Yeah, it's a change even in their path of salvation.
So when one
Yeah.
becomes consecrated as religious life, right, as a monk, there is an ontological change. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, that their way to salvation is different than a layperson's
Okay.
way to
Can you
salvation.
point to any church teaching that definitively declares this?
You sure? Do you guys take Saint John of the Ladder, Saint John
Sure. What does
Climacus?
he What does he have to say?
That's like 90% of his book is
It's
talking about that.
Grizzly.
Okay, but what does he talk about? How does he talk about the role or character being that equal of a priest?
Not equal. No
Okay,
one said
maybe not
equal.
equal. Okay, so then how is it an
Different.
ontological change?
It's a change in salvation. It's a change in the nature of the
Well,
purpose of the being.
change in the nature of the purpose of the being. How is that any different from what any other layperson is called to?
Lay people are called to be married, to have children. Monastics are
And
called
you're
to
saying that
celibacy and works
is
of asceticism.
ontologically different in the same way that so what the religious life person or someone who has a consecrated life is ontologically different from that of a priest and from a layperson. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they have a different telos, which means a different ontos.
Interesting.
Like they have a totally different telos. They have a different direction. Not to say that we're perennialists, but there are at least 3 different paths to heaven. 4 if you include martyrs, I guess. But it's not like martyrs exclusionary of all the others. But yeah, well, it's different, and I think the whole early church did believe that monks and nuns held a special position in the church, special role in the church.
I'm just so glad our
I
favorite pedo is
I don't
here.
think
Beer,
I don't think
barbecue,
that
and
that was
booze.
ever that was a that's never
Whoa.
been declared. It's never been maintained.
Your
I mean,
favorite
the
what?
Well, I'll
church has
find it
never
for
the,
you.
the church has never denied, or
Do you care to elaborate?
decried like the Christian communities and different orders and different charisms, but
He tried to
Hello?
I
justify
don't
why.
believe it's ever said
I
that
don't want to interrupt him.
they have like an ontological change that
Oh.
I think
happens
it's an interruptible statement to
as a
try
result
to
of that.
justify.
Yeah.
Side job, Bubba.
Why did
Yeah.
Aristotle leave?
Because I was creating controversy with beer.
No, I think because he just has weak points.